Hey guys, you've probably noticed that I've reached 10,000 subscribers thanks to you guys, and to celebrate the occasion, I'm going to answer various questions submitted by you guys that I get asked a lot. No fancy editing, just going to let my voice do most of the talking, so without further delay, let's get into the questions. From Danny on D's Nuts, hey yo Bubba, congrats, you are one of my favorite YouTubers on the site. He asks 6 questions, but I'm gonna answer the first 4 because I have better answers for those ones. Asked this on stream and you answered, but in case anyone didn't ask this for the Q&A, where did WubbaBubba come from? So the story behind my channel name is very underwhelming, but here it goes. There was a YouTube channel by the name of The Best Gamers that did a live stream celebrating a very obscure indie game franchise by the name of Bubba. A lot of familiar faces of the Oni Plays world took part in that stream. They played a lot of fan games that were created for the stream, and one of them was a Telltale Games ripoff, and it stars Bubba and his brother Wubba. So yeah, switched their 2 names around and that's how I got my name. I know, a gripping backstory. Where is that robot avatar from, and why did you pick it? Okay, the robot avatar is from an anime called Cromartie High. He is the little brother of a robot called Mechazawa, and he's just a little guy that walks around and sometimes gets destroyed by accident. I made him my avatar because he's just a silly dude to put into videos. Plus I need to replace my Sneed avatar I've had for a while, so I just slapped him as my icon. Favorite video game consoles and handhelds. So to go a little more in depth, my favorite generation of consoles is the 6th generation, just a lot of solid games. However, my favorite console of all time is the Wii. Probably not a shock to a lot of you guys because I do use a lot of Wii era music in my videos, but to give a few reasons why it was my favorite, the user interface was cozy, the Wii channels like the forecast and news channel were just fun to screw around on, the games were really great, and it could play GameCube games. Just an all-around decent console. My favorite handheld console is the 3DS hands down, solid games, and you could just pop in DS games whenever you want. If you can make any changes to TF2, what would they be? If I were in charge of TF2, I would just put in a lot more unique weapons into the game without going too overboard. Like maybe Heavy getting a minigun that shoots out buckshot or something like that. No crazy buffs or nerfs to any of the classes, although Spy could use a couple minor buffs that can make fooling veterans of the game slightly more easier. Total Nerd Rage has a couple questions for me too. What's your favorite president or US politician? Okay, I'll give a few favorite presidents since I don't have a number one. So to sound like a normie, gotta give George Washington and Abraham Lincoln some props based off their roles as president. I like Eisenhower due to his role in World War II and helping create the interstate system. And lastly, Donald Trump is my favorite modern president. Not surprising if you follow my Twitter or tuned into my live streams. But for my favorite politician, it has to be Ron Paul. He was just way ahead of the curve for his time and he's sadly too old to run for office. Could you describe in a future video anti-2A gun companies or practices? Thanks for your well-edited videos and keep up the great work. This video is at the top of my to-do list because there's a lot of history of gun companies and even pro-gun groups backstabbing the Second Amendment. Biggest one that comes to mind was the whole Liberty Safe debacle, so it would be nice to have situations like these cataloged into one video. Schizo Robert asks, favorite subreddits? r/gaming leaks hands down, name says it all, and it doesn't devolve into dumb Reddit shenanigans. Favorite YouTubers? It'd be impossible to name all the YouTubers I watch, but if I had to name some of my favorites, JonTron, Oni, GeoWizard, Great Blue, Fish Stick on a Stick, most GunTubers, and fellow small YouTuber Waylon, which I actually did a cameo in one of his videos. If you could have any uncommon superpower, so like no flying, invisibility, telekinesis, etc., what would it be? Okay, nerdy answer coming. I would want superpowers similar to Shigechi's stand, the Harvest, from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Being able to have little dudes carry you around and collect money would be goofy and useful. You could probably also give them tiny guns and make a little personal army, that would be cool. Loading09 has a couple questions for me too. Aside from dunking on Redditors, what videos will you make in the future? So for videos in the future, more of the same, gun videos, Reddit videos, but I'm planning on branching out with other types of content. Biggest one I want to try my hand at is outdoor content like camping and hiking challenges. Currently I'm trying to figure out the best way to edit these types of videos, but if I do it similar to GeoWizard style, I think it'll turn out okay. Okay, I'm gonna put in another question because it's really similar to this previous one, but has a different answer. Chocolate Guy asks, dream video idea. Dream video idea would be me walking across Idaho. Idaho is such a beautiful state, and I think the journey itself is worth it, so I might as well film it because I think people will find it entertaining. But that specific dream requires a lot of planning and money, so don't get excited just yet. Other than that, maybe driving a moped from the top to the bottom of Idaho, I don't know. Okay, back to the original questions. Favorite gun you own? My favorite gun I own is a Norinco NHM91, but has really dogshit furniture jerry-rigged onto it, and I need to replace it with furniture that's made to fit it, since it's a cross between a AKM and a RPK. But once I get it configured the way I want it, it'll be a nice gem in my collection. Favorite gun you don't own? Okay, I got two answers for this question. My realistic dream gun is a white Steyr AUG, just a big fan of the iconic bullpup design. My unrealistic dream gun is an exact replica of Resident Evil 8's VZ61 with a long barrel, stock, and a drum mag. So I guess that also answers this guy's question about dream attachments on a gun. Lastly, do you have any gun literature recommendations? I'm assuming you have already seen my gun books video, and unfortunately I haven't gotten too much since then. Just the thrift store hauls have been duds lately, including gun book finds. The official Arthur the Aloe 69 asks, what's your favorite modern European firearm? My favorite modern firearm, when I think modern, I think 2000s or older, so I would probably say the Scar line of rifles from Belgium. Really cool, but overpriced here in America. What is your favorite gun company? I have two, Beretta and Ruger, easily due to both having a variety of weapons in their lineup. Beretta, you have the 92 line of pistols, the CX4, the PX4, their line of shotguns, especially the 1301, and with Ruger they got pistols, bolt actions, the Ruger 1022, their revolvers, just a lot of options from both of these companies that are downright awesome. In your opinion, what is the most overrated firearm? Surprisingly, Turkish semi-auto shotguns. I legit still see a lot of people raving about getting a good deal and that they don't have any issues with their one they got. Well, guess what? You're the exception, not the rule. They are generally dog shit, and you just hit the jackpot. Little Goofster asks, what made you pro 2A? The Second Amendment has always made sense to me. A perfect world doesn't exist, technology progresses, and it gets easier each day to create any tool your heart desires. So why restrict normal citizens from exercising our right to choose the best tool for the job of self-defense? I also believe in God, and self-defense is a God-given right. The Second Amendment just forces the government to recognize that inalienable right. David Mendez asks, I know I missed the deadline, but maybe you can answer it here. What kind of 2A enthusiast are ya? Competition shooter, tactibro, hunter, flat bench shooter, mag dumping into the trash with the boys? The one I'm more similar to out of those options is the mag dumping trash with the boys. I don't have a lot of money to be a comp shooter, a tactical nerd, or something like that, so until I get more capital, plinking soda cans with half-kitted out firearms is probably my go-to way of expressing my gun rights. Eric asks, if you had to delete one gun from ever existing, what would it be? Very easy question, the Zip 22. US FA would still be in the business of making nice single-action army revolvers instead of going bankrupt creating this piece of junk. If you want a more in-depth look into the glorious Zip 22, check out the Forgotten Weapons video on it. Okay, I got two really similar questions by Eva and Melty Man Melts. Why'd you make videos in the first place, or what's inspired you to make content you do? There was a lack of videos that tackled subjects that I loved laughing at, so I just took a crack at it and here we are. It was also due to me getting burnt out on Call of Duty. It used to be my go-to game and I would just play it every week. However, I noticed that I was just doing endless busy work and unlocking items in the battle pass that would be completely useless when the next game drops. So around August of 2024, I started to work on videos again after a half-a-year hiatus, and I never looked back. Diego Gang Brando, nice name. Favorite TF2 class? Honestly, a pretty hard question. I don't main any classes. My go-to used to be sniper, now it's soldier, heavy, or engineer, but in general, I'll play any class that I feel like will contribute to our team securing a victory. I just know it's probably not spy because I'm terrible with them. American Antics ask, why did my wife leave me? I can't answer that one. And how's your day? Pretty good most days, just extremely busy most of the time. However, most days lately feel like I've missed out on one thing or another, so that can be a little frustrating, but you just gotta hope you get more done the next day. MPC9361 asks, what is the most unhinged subreddit that you have seen? When it comes to being unhinged, most of the ones I've covered are pretty equal in being unhinged. r/antinatalism probably takes the cake, and to further narrow it, it's the users that believe in forced sterilization based on their own subjective view of the world. I still believe their number one problem is them promoting and associating with these deranged people in their community, and it's terrible for their long-term public approval of their already dogshit nihilistic views of living. Top that off with a certain event that caused a minor boost in views on my anti-natalist video, I think I'm right for calling him the most deranged subreddit I've encountered. Straight Up Tweaking asks, aside from the ATF, what government agency would you like to see dissolved completely? Most likely the IRS because of how cutthroat they are about extracting as much tax dollars as humanly possible from average everyday citizens. Don't know what to replace it with, but most likely with nothing at all. Some guy with a YouTube channel asks, I know your channel is obviously America-centric, but what are your opinions on the British Commonwealth countries? Personally, as an Australian, I hate it here, but I'm interested in an American perspective. Either mixed, negative, or no opinion at all. I think the biggest problem with a lot of these countries is that they crack down on civil liberties in order to keep the right to be safe, whether that be investigating political parties that think the wrong way, cracking down on internet posts that go against the grain, restricting free speech, and yes, cracking down on self-defense tools. Yeah, I know I'm painting a broad brush, and some of these Commonwealth countries are still better than 95% of the other countries in the world, but I'm more frustrated with the fact that there are some people blind to these things, and I really do hope these once great nations turn around on a lot of issues. A poll you know asks, what originally got you into firearms? Was it video games? Were you brought up in a pro-gun environment? What was your first firearm experience like? I just grew up around guns. It wasn't until I was 18 until I started really getting interested in them. My first experience was just fine. I shot a Cricket 22 with my dad, but it wasn't very memorable. Dave Coco asks, can we get some more TF2 videos? If I come up with more silly ideas, yeah. I'm not really the greatest or knowledgeable TF2 player. Heck, I don't even have 1,000 hours in the game. But if I find a fun or stupid way to play the game, I'll record it and make it into a video. Amnesia asks, 9mm or 45? 9mm all the way. I like capacity, plus I prefer 10mm over 45. However, I do want to own a suppressed 45 that shoots subsonic ammo. That would be really cool. Chamberlain2899 asks, daily carry and thoughts on good concealed carry holsters. I carry a Shield Plus just because the grip of the gun is fantastic, and I do love the capacity on it, plus it was cheaper than the P365 at the time. And for holsters, I carry a Tolster inside the waistband holster. I don't know the exact model, but I don't really know too much about other holster brands, but Tolster is a safe bet. Modus9271 asks, what do you think of Trump's gun policy? Well, it looks like I can't kick the can down the road anymore. I will preface this and say yes, I voted for him in every election I could, and I do like the man, so take my bias however you want, but here's my answer. He's not as bad as people think he is, but to put it mildly, he's a FUD. I do believe the NRA and his inner circle from his first term guided him towards flirting with red flag laws, or that awful bump stock decision that snowballed into ATF circumnavigating federal gun laws through reinterpretations of federal gun laws. It was also his fault for thinking compromising would get gun controllers to back off, so in a lot of ways, he set us back a lot. But if you compare him to other previous modern presidents, he's gun Jesus in comparison. I think he realized his catastrophic mistake of trusting anti-gunners to shut up if you ban a scary stock, and has decided to stick his feet in the ground and return us to the status quo before his mistakes. So his second term is an improvement over his first, with probably the only biggest setback so far is putting the girl who briefly cozied him up to red flag laws into the Attorney General's office. But honestly, there's a lot I agree with on both sides of the argument if he's pro-gun or a FUD, and we should continue to press him to be more openly pro-gun, aside from a couple offhand comments. favorites. Allie18Y84 asks, favorite MLP pony? It's gotta be Minty. Super Matt Mike asks, out of all the Wonder 9 handguns, which one is your favorite? Out of the Wonder 9s, the Browning High Power based on pure aesthetics. I own a FEG High Power, and man, it's fun to shoot without breaking the bank and buying an authentic one. Walter Y asks, should I get a Glock 19 or a Beretta 92? If I were you, I'd get a Glock 19 Gen 5, just a really good jack of all trades gun. But if it's too boring, a Beretta 92 Inox if you want something that looks cool, or an M9A4 for a more modern world. Bob McBride asks, what is your favorite shotgun? I'm a sucker for mag-fed shotguns like the Saiga 12, the AA-12, or that Terran Tactical AR-style shotgun in John Wick 3. No, it was... which was it? No, it was John Wick 4, my bad. I just like weapons that offer fast follow-up shots with substantial capacity. However, the Beretta 1301 is a close second favorite, and more realistic for me to own. Laser Wolf 21 asks, is spending $1,000 on an MP5 clone a sane financial decision? If you got the money, just go for it if that's what you want. However, if it puts you in a hole, just wait a little bit. More serious, what's the best way of convincing anti-gun family that's perfectly okay to own firearms, especially ARs and the like? Taking them shooting is one of the easiest ways to calm a lot of close families' fears of firearms, show them that they're safe if they're handled correctly. That's probably the best way. That or just leave Hickok 45 on your family's TV to hopefully get them intrigued enough to sit down and watch some old guy smoke flower pots. Neosis4269 asks, favorite old gun? I like the Mosin Nagant, a lot of people's first gun and probably the most overhated gun of all time. The amount of use it has seen in the last 100 years is quite astonishing for its age. Just a fun gun to plink with. That is, if you can still get a good deal on the ammo, because 7.62x54R prices have gone up substantially, so no more crates of ammo for like $5. Favorite Pepe picture? This one right here, just Pepe driving a car. It's so cozy, but it has limited uses for video. Crux Crusader asks, what do you think is the worst trope movies / TV shows have regarding firearms? Any scene involving gun purchases or suppressors. Those two create so much misinformation that makes furthering gun rights to a wider audience all the more difficult, where a lot of people's knowledge of firearms is from Hollywood. Chad Wild III asks, what is your favorite movie of all time? Also, what is your favorite spoof movie? A really difficult question, as I have a lot of favorite films like John Wick 1 through 4, Jurassic Park 1 and 2, Passion of the Christ, The Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit trilogy. It's really hard to narrow it down. But I think my favorite movie of all time is the first SpongeBob movie. I can put this movie on at any time and laugh my butt off at every joke I know by heart. Favorite scene out of the movie is actually the intro. It's so dumb and goofy, it just works. But for my favorite spoof movie, Kung Fu Hustle. I'm not going to spoil one thing about this movie, just pop it in. Trust me, it's a wild one. The Blob 1716 asks, favorite AAA game and indie game? Man, this is a hard question. I plan on doing a top 50 video games of all time for my own enjoyment one day, but I have too many to really say what my favorite AAA game is, but a game I could play almost any day would probably be Luigi's Mansion. The Mansion, the relatively quick playthrough, the music, just a perfect game. Favorite indie game is slightly easier for me to decide. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Terrifying, but the setting is the best in the series and keeps me coming back every so often. And what music do you like? For music, Marty Robbins is my favorite artist. He has so many amazing tracks that are underappreciated, like his version of Streets of Laredo or Saddle Tramp. Aside from him, I don't listen to a lot of artists, just of individual songs. Still, video game music trounces on a lot of modern day music, and you bet I listen to Sonic Adventure music on repeat. Useless Raimu asks, favorite firearm operating system? I like short stroke gas piston guns like the FAL, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. I don't have any preference since I need to shoot a lot more to get an opinion on firearm operating systems, but honestly, Simple Blowback is my favorite due to the fact it just shows how simple guns are. SpongeThug2183 asks, what do you think about Kel-Tec? I don't need to hold one, but I can already tell most guns they produce feel like recycled plastic. However, their best gun, and a gun I actually do want, is the Sub 2000. However, I would only get the new version, which allows you to keep your red dot on it without taking it off because it has a new folding system, which is cool. Weakest Hater asks, what's the worst gun you have ever used? My Heritage Rough Rider. The spring has already lost its strength and now it light strikes every 22 bullet. I've only put less than 100 rounds into it, I think, but it's not too cheap to replace the part. I just haven't gone around ordering it. Person Y6T asks, if you were magically deported by ICE, what country would you decide to live in? Japan. I have a feeling a lot of you guys already guessed that based on a multitude of factors. What seals the deal for me is just the culture and some of the downright gorgeous scenery. Still more of a place to visit. I'm too attached to Idaho to ever leave. Propane and Propane Accessories Salesman ask, have you ever bought from PSA? No, but I should try them out. I'm a sucker for cheap guns and tinkering with shit that isn't over $2,000 would be a lot of fun. They also really fight for the Second Amendment openly, which is pretty based, and for that alone, I'll support them when I get the chance. Man7 ask, Colt Python or Smith & Wesson 686? Between the two, the 686 is the safer out of the two. There were a couple of problems with newly produced Colt Pythons a couple of years back, but an older one would suffice. Both are great guns, but the 686 is just more economically friendly and the more likely one for me to own. Okay guys, I left the most controversial for last. Sock Divine 6144 ask, taco or burrito? Burritos for sure. I just like the different fillings you can put in them, and I like fluffy tortillas over hard shells. But I do like tacos though, especially homemade ones. But nothing beats a burrito from Taco Bell, Chipotle, or some San Diego chain that claims that it's the original San Diego burrito chain. Well, I think that was enough questions and it's time to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot of you guys for submitting questions. I had a blast answering them. Everyone else, thank you for tuning into my videos. Thank you for subscribing, and also thanks for a lot of additional support from super chats and item donations. Thanks for helping me reach 10,000 subscribers, but now I gotta run. Until next time, this is WubbaBubba signing off again.